Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial from the past. Yes, we are painting some retro miniatures. We are painting Darkoath Lysander. Yes, the captain of the Imperial Fists himself. Here he is in his original firstborn form. He may get a Primaris version, we don't know. But for now, I want to paint this guy. So, the first place we're going to work on is all of his armor. He's been primed in Wraithbone, and the color we're going to be using is Iyanden Yellow. Now, what we want to do is we want to load up our brush with the Iyanden Yellow, and then we just want to very carefully start painting this over the top of all of our armor panels. Now, Iyanden Yellow is one of those paints that is a little bit kind of tricky to get a handle on sometimes. You just want to be very careful as you work your way around the model, keeping an eye on it so that it doesn't pool too badly in any places that you don't want to. So just stick to using the tip of your brush and gliding across the surface, and make sure that you take it a section at a time, just like this. And well, you should be able to pick up a really nice yellow looking armor doing it this way. Now, I'm just going to keep going. It doesn't matter too much if we do get this on any of the extra details that are going to be a different colour, because Iyanden Yellow is one of those ones that covers over quite nicely with other contrast paints. But if you do happen to get this anywhere you don't want it, just grab a little bit of Wraithbone and neaten it up. Like that, you see? Just sticking to the tip of the brush, gliding across the surface, just being careful with how much we're applying at any one time. You don't want too much on your brush. And that Wraithbone undercoat is really supplying a lot of warmth to our yellow armour. Like so. Now, if you need any assistance with where to place this, do just check out the product photography on the Games Workshop website. Because unfortunately he does come in one of those anonymous Citadel packets without a picture on the front. Quite an old model now, old Lysander. So with that done, you should have a Lysander that looks somewhat like this. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to strengthen up that yellow just a tad. Now the colour we're going to make is a roughly 4 parts Lahmian Medium to 1 part Yriel Yellow. We want this to be nice and thin because this is almost a glaze consistency. And what we want to do with this is essentially over the top of the wide open panels, we just want to paint this nice and thin Yriel Yellow over the top. And this will just warmen up. This will just strengthen that yellow colour and also just warm it up just that little bit extra. And also it can just pick up any of the maybe slight mistakes that you might have made like this and smooth them out from that contrast paint. It's nice and simple. It's just like this. We're just looking for a little coat like that, just avoiding any of those recesses. Like so. And like I said, you can already see it's really done it there. It's really strengthened out that yellow. So you just want to go around like this across all of our kind of wide open flat panels, and this is mostly going to be areas like his back, his shoulders and his legs, as a lot of the areas are quite small, and the contrast paint will have already done all of that work for you and will be nice and strong. However, on these wider open spaces, it might look just a little bit weak. For example, just back here on that shoulder. To me, it just looked a little thin. I'm just adding that Yriel Yellow, just like this. So with that done, we've got a beautiful yellow base from which to work. Now, one of the good things about doing that Yriel Yellow base, glaze I should say, is that when we come to do the rest of it, which is what we're going to move on to now before the highlights, if we do happen to make a little bit of a mistake, we can just tidy it back up with a bit of Yriel Yellow glaze rather than having to Wraithbone it and then Iyanden Yellow it as well. Now, as I said, we are going to be moving on to some of the other details, and the first one is all the red details. And the colour we're going to be using for this is Flesh Tearer's Red. Now, this is going to include quite a few areas, such as the shield and the cloak and any kind of wings of any Aquillas around him. After all, he is an Imperial Fist, so I would of course recommend keeping an eye on that product photography on the Games Workshop website for any help in where to place this colour. Or alternatively, you can wait until the next clip. I'll show you where all the red has been placed. But much like with the yellow, you just want to be very careful here with how we apply it. We just want to get this Flesh Tearer's Red all over these details. Just like this. So with that done, as you can see, we've done the shield, the cloak, these lightning bolt designs down here, the little cables around his head, the Aquila on his chest and on his belt, and same again around on the back. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on and we're going to use some Basilicanum Grey. This is going to be the pre-shade for all of our black details. Now again, there are a lot of grey details, but there's also a lot of black details. So areas that are grey, for example, are going to be areas like this kind of large stone section on the storm shield, like this. And this does include that little text bit there on the front. It's also going to include the Crux Terminatus and the shoulder pad up here. But we are going to, as I said, this is our pre-shade for our black as well. So this fist down here, for example, is going to be black afterwards. We want to get the grey on there to get a nice consistent dark black. So you just want to, once again, check out the product photography for your own reference. And then once this Basilicanum Grey is on all of our details, we'll come back. So with that Basilicanum Grey applied, what we're now going to do is going to take some black Templar, and we are going to apply this over every area that we want to be black. So it's basically everywhere on the model that I've painted with the grey, apart from the Aquila, that little bit of stone parchment, and the Crux Terminatus. So I'm going to grab that black Templar now. I'm just going to start painting it all over all of these details. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Dark Angel's Green. I'm going to use this to paint in our laurels. And we've got one up here, and we've got one on the shield. Nice and simple. Just like this. And so with that done, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Skeleton Horde. I'm going to use this over the top of all of our skulls and all of our paper details. So we've got this skull just here at the bottom of the shield. Like that. Then we've got all these purity seals. Scattered around. And so with that done, we then take a little bit of Blood Angel's Red. I'm going to use this on the top of any of the wax seals. So with that Blood Angel's Red applied to all of those wax seals, what we're now going to do is going to take some Darkoath Flesh. I'm going to use this to paint in his face. So with that done, what we're now going to do is going to take some thinned down Leadbelcher. I'm going to use this to paint in all of our silver details. And there is quite a few of these. We've got pretty much the entire of the Thunderhammer. We've got the inner workings of the Storm Shield. We've got the various chains hanging off him. Got the area around his lenses and stuff like that. So once again, do just make sure you keep an eye on the box art. Well, product photography, I should say. Find out where to place this. It might take a couple of thin coats. You just want to build up a really nice strong silver across all of these details. And so with that done, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Leviadon Blue and use this to paint in the remaining little cables just here on the hammer. And so with that done, we then take a little bit of Apothecary White. I'm going to paint this over his hair and his little beard. Like so. So with that done, all of the base coats are now on Lysander. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a quick shade. Now the colour we're going to make is a roughly 2 parts contrast medium to 1 part black Templar mix. And we're going to use this over the top of all of our silver. Just like that. But what we're also going to do is we're going to use this over the top of the shield stone. Not the Crux Terminatus, but over the top of the shield. I want it to just be a little bit darker, just a touch, than the shoulder pad. You can see just a small amount of this goes quite a long way. Don't load your brush up too much. So with that done, Captain Darkoath Lysander is now at what I would call a Warhipster battle ready. And he already looks absolutely cracking. Don't you think? So, with that in mind, what we're going to do now is we're going to take him to the next level. So, the place we're going to start is with all of the highlights. And, well, the first one we're going to use is Phalanx Yellow. We're going to be using this around all of his yellow armour. What we want to do is we just want to basically take some of this on our brush and then just start picking out all of the edges. Across all of these armour panels. So with that Phalanx Yellow applied to all of our yellow armour, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Dorn Yellow. I'm going to use this to pick out any of the rivets. Like so. And also add this as a little spot highlight on the sharpest points and the areas we want to really catch the eye. So for example, right here at the top of his armour, there on the corner, across this top here. Just like this. You just want to go around like that with the Dorn Yellow, and then we'll come back. So with that done, all of our yellow armour is now finished, and it looks incredible. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the same thing to our red armour. That is, make it look incredible. And the colour that we're going to use first is Evil Sunz Scarlet. And we're just going to be picking out all of our edges, just like we did with our armour. Just like this. So with that Evil Sunz Scarlet applied, what we're then going to do is take some Cadian Fleshtone. I'm going to use this as our little spot highlight. So we're going to be picking out all of the rivets and the little corners of our red details, as well as the areas we really want to shine. So for example, just there in that divot. Just like this. And we're going to be doing this on the purity seals as well. So with that done, all of our red details are now finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Dawnstone. I'm going to use this to highlight all of the black as well as the stone, Darkstone, on the shield. Now we're not going to use it to highlight the Crux Terminatus because it's not going to do anything. It's already quite bright, that. But here it's going to really make it start to pop. As I said, it's not just that grey area there. It's going to be the black details as well. So with that Dawnstone applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Administratum Grey. I'm going to use this as a little spot highlight on the black details. So for example, just down here on the fist, we just want to add a little bit there, 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 like this, just on the corners. Like so. Whereas on both the stone sections now, so including the Crux Terminatus, we're going to do this as a full edge highlight once again. Only on the shield, we want it to be just a little bit narrower. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to very quickly take some Krieg Khaki. I'm going to use this to highlight our green laurels. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to work on the face. And the colour we're going to be using first for this is Flayed One Flesh. What we're going to do is we're just going to use this to pick out all of the edges on all of his facial features. Now he's got a craggy old face. This is one of those few compliments you can give to fine cast. The details like faces are reasonably simple to pick out where to paint stuff. So with that Flayed One Flesh applied to his face, as you can see, he's looking pretty cool. What we're going to do is we're just going to take a little bit of Wyldwood, not very much at all, and we're going to use this across the kind of inside of his mouth. Like that. And we're also going to use this around the underside of his bottom eyelid. Like so, just to kind of give him those bags under his eyes. So that Wyldwood applied, we then take a teeny tiny amount of black Templar. I'm going to paint this over his eyeballs. Like so. So with that black Templar applied, we want to take the tiniest dot of Screaming Skull. We want to apply this to the corners of each of his eyes. Like this. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take a tiny amount of Corax White. I'm going to use this to highlight his hair and beard. Just like that. So with that done, the face is now finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to all the skulls and all of the paper. Now we're going to be once again using Screaming Skull for this. Just picking out the edges. On all of these details. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Iron Hand Steel. I'm going to use this to highlight all of our silver details. So with that done, our hammer and all of our silver is now finished. We're not doing any spot highlights on it because we want it to look quite industrial and heavy and menacing. So the colour we're going to be using next is Blood Angel's Red. And we're going to be using this on these two little lenses just up here. Like that. And then what we're also going to do, we're going to start adding some little text and details to various bits of paper. So up here, what we want to do is we want to add just a little tiny little amount of Blood Angel's Red. Like that. And then down here, we're going to add a little bit just in the middle. And so with that done, we're on to the final stretch here. What we're going to be doing is we're going to take some black Templar, not very much at all. And what we want to do is we want to use just the tip of our little brush to add some little lines on the rest of the paper. Like that. We want to do this across all of the little purity seals, but what we also want to do on the shield front, just here, is we want to write the name Lysander. And here we have it. Darkoath Lysander, Captain of the Imperial Fists, is now finished. Ready to, well, stand sentinel over Terror, I'm sure. That's pretty much what the Imperial Fists do these days. So, yeah. Really, really great fun to paint an older model. This one's actually quite good, in a way. It's always surprising which ones are slightly more tricky to work with the fine cast stuff. But actually this one was quite a joy, and he's a superbly detailed model, and wow, a piece of history right here before you, rendered in resin. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/warhipster. Alternatively, you can now become a YouTube channel member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, just like these absolute bosses have done. And if you just want to shoot me a little thanks, just because you really love this video, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.